How does cost sharing work? Well, let's dive in and let's find out. Now, I'm not going to go over all of the parameters that are in the guidelines. Those of you who join us in cost sharing, you'll have access to what those guidelines are. But what I want to do is just give you an overview of how cost sharing works. So again, think of your community as a way to replace a health insurance company. But in this community environment, things are different because of the fact that we do things such as giving you the guidance, as I mentioned earlier, in the health coaching to make sure that you're not alone when you're spending your first dollars in your IUA. And then also making sure that we do things for you that are like second opinions, and if you need a prescription for short term, maybe for some pain meds, something like that, there's some prescription discounts. I mean, there's all kinds of things wrapped in here that it's really hard probably for you to understand just at one sitting. But what I want to explain is the fact that what cost sharing does is it takes, as I mentioned earlier, the burden of self-pay off of you as an individual. But what it does is it also is going to give you the ability to have something that no insurance or cost-sharing environment has ever done. And that means holistic medicine for primary health care. So as I mentioned earlier in the other video, we had talked about as I use those three fingers as these three little buckets of the IUA. So annually we have, if we're a single person, we have 3 IUA to meet. If we're a family, we have 5. Okay? So what's going to happen is we meet our IUA, and for every IUA that we meet, that means that if something else happens after our IUA is met, then it's 100% community participation. So in a really bad example of something worst case scenario that happens, let's say that a member goes through a coaching program. They've done the Academy course, they've gone through the coaching program, they've met their IUA, and without it being a pre-existing condition, they were diagnosed with cancer. Now what happens? Well, this is where the beauty of this comes in, because now we do things like we have a variety of options actually. So maybe our member would choose to do an in-home program where they would use quantum medicine technologies that would oxygenate the body, bring light energy to the body, and all of these things so that they could do it in the comfort of their home or in a practitioner in their area. Or for other people, maybe they want to do international care because they've read about the phenomenal results that places like the Gerson Clinic or the Hope for Cancer Clinic are getting in Tijuana. Well, again, that is completely shareable in this community, because ultimately what we want to make sure our community knows is that you will never be forced into conventional medicine. That actually is why we are including conventional medicine for where it is most appropriate. But when it comes to things like in this kind of a scenario where a person doesn't want chemo and radiation, they want to be able to have access to holistic care for their primary health care, that's what this community is about, and that's what we're here for. So making sure that our members feel emancipated from the shackles of the conventional models of health insurance and the system of health care that's really more like disease care is why AlternaShare is here. So in the next video, we'll talk more about the dynamics of how the sharing environment works.